Hi, I'm Filipa and welcome to my channel Awkward, where I give parents the knowledge, tools, and skills and encouragement to provide their children with mindful sexual education. With this channel, I'm hoping to help you to answer your kids' awkward questions about bodies, feelings, and sex. Today's topic is the sources of inappropriate sexual education. So, kids have all kinds of questions about where they come from, who they are, and what happens when they're dead. So kids have very deep questions and they question their origins. And it is important to answer these questions truthfully with age-appropriate language and information, so that kids grow up understanding themselves, understanding their emotions, understanding where they come from, and knowing themselves a little bit better. So a kid that knows themselves, that knows is able to identify their feelings, that understands their body and this body's sensations and why they come about, is a kid that is a lot more confident, and confident children will make better decisions and build better relationships as well. So if you don't answer these questions about that are related to sexual education in general, what happens is your kid will still be curious and they will still look for answers, but they will look for answers somewhere else. And the danger with that is that if they do that, or when they do that, not if, because they will, they are susceptible to all kinds of messages, and sometimes these messages are misinformed and are not truthful, or they are not in accordance with the values you will like to share with your child. So it is important that you start your sexual education at home and as early as possible. And how early should you start? I would say that as soon as your child is around into this world, that you start thinking about sexual education as how we learn what love is, and how we learn how to show love and to receive love. So this is a way that makes it easier for you to think of sexual education without so much taboo around it, without thinking that it's only about sex and making babies and bodies changing in puberty. No, this is a lifelong journey that will be different at different stages and require different information at different stages. And as you should start giving this information as early as possible, also because we know that sexual education has a component that is so much bigger than this sex and the sex thing, right? That it has to do with our emotions, with how we relate to others, how we feel about ourselves as well. And these things are important, and they are important to be explored and understood in childhood, so that you have a healthy and positive experience of sexual education. And then when it is age appropriate, that you also have this in your sexual life, that you have a positive and a healthy expression of your sexuality through that as well. So inadequate forms of sexual education include the internet. The internet has so much information, and a lot of the information out there is good information, but not all of it is appropriate for your child, is appropriate for the age and developmental stage they're at. And some information is just outright terrible and non-scientific and non-true and detrimental to the understanding of sexual education and of your child's understanding of themselves and their bodies and what is expected of them, right? So when kids type in questions like what is sex, or where babies come from, or how to kiss a boy, or boobies. You know, the very innocent things that they look for. A lot of the times they are vulnerable to stumbling on inappropriate and pornographic and erotic content that will have very detrimental effects on your kids' psyche. It has been proven that kids who are exposed to pornography may suffer a great deal and are not equipped to understand what it is that they are seeing. And this has all kinds of negative effects in their minds. Also, because they might have physiological, so body reactions to the content that they are seeing, where they may feel some kind of excitement, not arousal, because children don't get aroused, but some kind of excitement that makes their heart beat faster, or makes them feel a little bit strange, so these are things that your child may not be able to process and understand about themselves, especially if you're not talking about the body and body sensations in your home. The second source of inappropriate sexual education is actually friends. So imagine, it is the blind leading the blind here, where you have children who don't know what sex is. There will be inevitably, there's one kid in your child's classroom that has access to a phone, that has access to the internet unsupervised, and that they will share this information with your child, and they will share their childish understanding of what they have seen with your child, and how damaging that can be. Also, without referring to pornographic or erotic material, we know that there is a lot of media images out there that are not appropriate for children, but they are exposed to all the time. We know that content is becoming in many instances more sexualized and more violent, and that children are ever more exposed to that because, you know, their older siblings, for example, are watching a series that there's a lot of kissing and a sex scene that doesn't show any sex, but still it shows a sexual environment, and kids will not be able to fully understand the information that they are receiving when they're watching these scenes, for example. The last inappropriate source of sexual education, unfortunately, is sexual abuse. I have spoken to a few adults that tell me that how they learned about sex was when they were sexually abused, because until then, they didn't know anything about sexual education. Nobody had ever talked to them about it. They just felt sensations in their bodies. And what happened after was that, you know, as they grew up and as they realized that what had happened to them had been an abuse, or had been something that was wrong. They, you know, kids know that this thing that is happening when they're being abused, they know that there's something wrong with it. They just can't put their finger on it because adults around them have not spoken to them about sexual education, or what is appropriate and inappropriate, and what is sexual abuse. A lot of the time, parents are scared of talking about this topic because they feel like it will traumatize the kids. And if this is done with care and with appropriate language, it isn't going to traumatize kids. It will just make them aware of behavior that is appropriate and inappropriate, and the people who do these things, who commit these acts, even if they're not violent acts, and it doesn't matter how they feel to you, that these people do not want what is best for them. So I'd advise you, parent, to really consider looking into providing your kid with mindful sexual education, because this is the only way that you will be able to mitigate the effects of your child being exposed to inappropriate sources of sexual education. So I hope this video helped, that you liked it. So leave your comments, leave your likes, share and subscribe.